What's up, everybody? It's about that time for another edition of the Crew Radio Show. I'm Kevin Swan, co-host of the show, and the crew are professional people who are also friends that come together to talk about the things you want us to talk about. We talk about it all, and we don't hold back. So come on and join us for another edition of the Crew Radio Show. Welcome to the Crew here on WHOV 88.1 FM. We are in the house. We got the fellas that are here with us today. This is Barbershop Conversation Part 2. We're still praying for our ladies, Sia and Alvy, and y'all continue to lift them up. They'll be back soon, but they're dealing with some things, some personal things. But you know, when it's just the fellas, y'all, it's the barbershop.
It's the barbershop.
And so we appreciate y'all checking us out. We're in Part 2. We're going to pick right up from the conversation that we started last week, Tom.
Yes.
We talked about the black agenda. We know that the election is coming up very soon. Mm-hmm. We want to make sure that our people are educated on the issues. And one of the things that's coming out is, what should we as black people really be thinking about when we choose a candidate? And let me be clear, not just a presidential candidate.
Correct.
Because we get so hyped about the presidential candidate that we forget that there's state elections, there's local elections.
Which is, I think, is most important.
Is more important.
Yes.
City council is important.
Yes. School board.
School board is important. Who's educating your kids, all that kind of stuff. So all of that should be taken into consideration when you look at what is considered to be a black agenda. So a quick recap in the last show. There are 7 areas that the NAACP has put out when it comes to what should be considered on a black agenda as we think about our candidates and who we should vote for. We talked about 3 of them last week. But, Tom, you can't let number 3 go, man.
I can't.
I just want to let you know. You can. So the first one was voting rights,
Yes.
making sure that we have access to the polls.
That's
right?
a 10.
That's a 10. We agree to that. Economic equity. And I think we agree that, for us anyway, that's the most important one.
That's the most important
we've covered so far. You agree with that, Jay?
And that's a 10.
That's a 10. Criminal justice reform.
Here we go.
This is the one that we still are talking about. And
yes.
So there's 2 parts to it, according to the NAACP. The first one is ending mass incarceration, and then the second is supporting the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act.
Yes.
That act contains 6 things that they want to see. Banning chokeholds and no-knock warrants.
Yes.
We agree.
Good.
Ending racial and religious profiling.
Yes.
We agree.
Yeet.
Use of force standards.
Yes.
We agree. Accountability and transparency.
Yes.
We agree. Data collection and reporting.
Yes.
What we don't agree is military equipment.
Come on.
And why, for those who didn't see it last week?
Because if somebody got my kid held up in a school and that person got an AR-15 or something that can pierce through Kevlar body armor, I don't care what the military grade equipment that the police have. Go in there and get my kid.
Come get me.
Come get,
you in the school
Jay.
too.
I'm in there.
Go
Come
get Jay.
Please come get me.
Get the kids.
Go
and
get Jay. Go get my kid by any means necessary.
Yeah.
I don't care what if you gotta run over that joker with a bullpen. I don't care. Go get my kid. Go get my kid.
But, so play another side for the purpose of, you don't care that certain police officers would have access to this high-level equipment.
I don't care. I think I said, you say you didn't understand exigent circumstances in the last show. Well, do you understand? I don't care.
But you're describing a specific scenario.
I am.
What about a general situation? You got cops on the street with an equal AR-15? You don't care about that?
Didn't the Bible say, be ye also ready? And I need the police to be ye also ready when that situation occurs. We don't know when that situation is going to occur. Uvalde, they didn't know that situation was going to occur. But that person had the type of equipment that kept the police at bay for a whole hour because they felt like they couldn't fight the weaponry that they had. And so I don't want the police to even have that excuse to be able to say, we can't fight that weaponry. I want them to be able to say, hey, I got to go up in there, guns blazing, do whatever I got to do. Go get my kid.
Jay, outside of that scenario, you in the schools, do you have any issue with the police rolling down the street in the hood with an AR-15?
In that circumstance, Commonwealth Attorney Bill, I will have to disagree with you on that.
But they're not going to do that, though. That's the thing.
But this
they're
is
not
what
gonna walk down the
you
street.
want the police to have whatever the streets have, is what you're saying.
I want them to have the equipment, but you got to understand, even though they may have the equipment, there are going to still be guidelines that's going to be in place for when they can utilize that equipment. They can't just utilize that equipment at a traffic stop. It's going to be guidelines.
Understood. You on the law side. We talking regular citizen now.
Okay.
Regular citizen, police officer, rolling down the street, even if he got it in the trunk. She got it in the trunk, got an AR-15.
They come with a different level of swag when they had that.
I don't care about that swag. Because can I tell you this? I'm sorry. I don't care about that swag. I guess because I've prosecuted police-involved shootings where the person shot the police officer. Police officer was just doing a routine traffic stop.
Right.
And they shot the person. They shot the officer. The person shot the officer because he had a warrant on file. Officer didn't know that. And he was in the back seat. And he shot the officer. The officer wasn't even paying him no attention. The officer was focused on the driver, doing a routine traffic exam, and he shot him. I had another one, trooper, shot the trooper, shot him up. Trooper had to crawl and knock on the door for somebody to let him in so he can live. Another one just a year ago where they're trying to execute a warrant of a guy who cut and shot up his fiancée on Christmas Day and killed her in cold blood. And they finally found him in Hampton, and they had a task force, and they had him surrounded. He came out guns blazing in broad daylight, guns blazing, shot up a sheriff deputy, shot him up.
All right, I got you.
I'm saying I don't care.
All right, so for the purposes of review, you don't care. Right?
I don't care.
Now, what you hung up on is this ending mass incarceration.
Let's talk about
the
that now.
NAACP is saying that they want to see happen.
Let's talk about that.
And as I said to you last time, I believe that they're interpreting this to mean the systems and the structures that exist that keep a disproportionate amount of black people incarcerated or in the penal system. Mm-hmm. They want to see lessened or done away with.
So so you have to explain that to me. What are the specific systems or things that are in place that creates mass incarceration? For me, if you ask me that question, I would say you have to deal with the root issues that causes black and brown individuals to turn to criminality, and therefore they are prosecuted at a disproportionate rate than non-black and brown individuals, and that's why you have mass incarceration. But if you're talking about addressing the penal code system or addressing the judicial system, with a judicial system, they'll put a gun in that brother's hand, and because that girl didn't give him the time of day, he shot her in the foot. And we know that with Megan Thee Stallion. He got shot in the foot. What, he in prison for 10 years. Well, the penal system didn't put that gun in his hand. He shot her because he felt like shooting her, and he thought he could get away with it.
Well, the one question that we didn't have full time to answer last show that we'll answer now, because you made the analogy between poor white communities,
I sure did.
trailer parks, and there are other poor ethnic communities, let's just be honest.
Yes, they are.
But it appears that they do not have violent crime in their communities at the same rate as we have in ours.
Let's take the word appears off the map, because numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie. Black and white don't lie. And I'm telling you, 75 to 80% of our homicides over the last 10 years have been a black person killing another black person.
Now, there are some people who don't even like the term black on black crime, right? But the reality is,
a black person killed a black person. So here, you call it what you want to call it. I can care whatever name you want to call it. It's just a black individual killed another black individual, and the FBI stats will show that from going back well over probably a century when they first started doing this, the FBI stats will show you that homicide is overwhelmingly a intra-community crime.
Correct.
So that's not to say that only black people are killing black people, white people are killing white people, because it's intra-community. Mexicans are killing Mexicans, Asians are killing Asians. It's intra-community, because I've had an Asian person shoot and kill his father. So it's intra-community. Unfortunately, because Hampton is 51% African American, we have more disproportionate crimes as far as black and brown people occurring in our city because we have the population for it.
Would you also argue about the psychological portion of it, as far as the things that African Americans and blacks have had to deal with, as far as slavery and being always in the back of the line for things, and then now you put us in a concentrated group. We got the crab in the barrel mentality as well, and now it's like we don't have a regard for life. You don't ascribe to that?
No. Can I just keep it real, y'all? Let's just come on and just remove this elephant out of this room, y'all, because it's small in here. So let's just remove the elephant in this room. It's the home. It's the home, y'all. It's just the home.
We know this is home.
It is the home. It is not.
What's different? Well, hold on, Tom, because what's different in the poor Asian community home, the poor white community home, that's different than the poor black community home?
Now, that's when slavery comes in, because slavery did teach our homes or our community about breaking up the family, about dysfunctionalism within the family, about not taking on ownership of your responsibility within the home. So slavery did trickle down into our community because of that. So when you have white communities or Mexican communities or Asian communities, they didn't have that issue. They didn't have the historical dysfunctionalism that passed on. So for them, they still been really tight-knit as families. They've always been tight-knit as families because they weren't broken apart. Like if you go in the trailer park, you see the husband and the wife, or you'll see the boyfriend and the girlfriend, but the boyfriend's right there, he ain't going nowhere, and he's trying to raise the baby, or he's at least in the baby's life. But if you go in the black community, you will see about, about 70%, 75% of children in the African-American community.
7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Raised in a single-parent home.
Raised in a single-parent home.
But some would argue
that is alarming.
But some would argue part of that is because the system has removed black men and incarcerated them at much higher rates, which leaves the family vulnerable.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Because you are a black man doesn't necessarily mean that you should have a pass to go out there and commit crime. And that's the problem I have. See, when people say poverty is the cause of crime, I got to push back on that because I grew up in poverty. When they say having a single parent as the cause of it, I had to push back on it because I grew up with a single parent and my father was nowhere near. In fact, father was on drugs, nowhere near. I got to push back on it. When they say that living in the hood is the cause of it because you got stacked on concentrated poverty, I got to push back on it because I had to walk. I lived in the hood and walked through the hood to get to school. So I'm sorry, I got to push back on it.
You push back, and we've had this conversation.
Yeah, I got to push back
But
because
you
the home.
Exactly, because you had a mother.
But there's the root
that held you to a standard.
But that's why I said it's not those other things. That's why I'm saying my point is the home.
Well, I push back on that because I'm in the school system and I know some single families and the mothers are great and these kids just bad as jacks.
My question is, when I say the home, I'm talking about the entire home. What are the influences that are in that home? It ain't always the mom because your parent is not going to be your only influence. And so my mom was not my only influence. I still had cousins who were parent figures and uncle figures. I had role models who took on parental figures. And also, my mom said, look, this may be your environment, but you're not bringing your environment into the house. And that was when I was a young kid.
Okay, so let me because I know I want to get to these last four.
Get to it.
I'm going to ask you this one question. Do you think ending mass incarceration is possible?
No.
Do you think it's possible?
No.
So then you don't.
But why? Ask the question, why?
It's the home.
Yeah, because if you end mass incarceration when you end a black person getting upset about me stepping on your tennis shoes and you shoot me. That's how you end mass incarceration. So if I can get you to change your mindset about the value of someone else's life because you have now changed your mindset concerning the value of your own life.
What about somebody?
That part.
Well, what about somebody who argues, well, mass incarceration is also because you got similar drug offenses and one is a lesser sentencing than the other.
They changed that.
But I'm just using that as an example.
But they changed that.
But
So what's the problem?
I'm just saying.
But they changed that.
Okay.
So and they changed that some time ago. Obama changed that.
But
The man ain't been in the White House for 8 years. So what's your point?
Some people may say.
But they changed that, and they released the people who were locked up for that. So what's your point?
But they still were in jail.
But he pardoned people who got the disproportionate sentence because
But how
of crack
long were they
cocaine.
in there?
Oh, they were in there for a long time. But here's the thing.
Okay, so think about the psychological, the economic impact
What's
of that.
psychological? You deal drugs, you go to jail. You still dealt the drug.
But again,
you
if
still guilty
Todd,
of the
if you-
crime.
Yes, but Todd, if you take somebody that has crack, right? Smoke crack, they get a higher sentence than somebody that did powder cocaine. And we know the difference between the two.
Sure.
Okay then. So
I have no problem with the
both
point.
made the same choice.
I
It's just a form of it.
I have no problem with the point you're trying to make. The point I'm making is when you're talking about the trauma that has occurred as a result of staying in prison longer than the person that sold powder cocaine. My thing is, but you still committed the crime. And I guess that is a problem for me because when I was a kid, one of the things my mom used to tell us is, don't go down there, and she was speaking about jail or to the police department. Don't go down there
I got you.
because of something you did, because I'm not coming to get you. And if you go down there, you're going to belong to them. And she meant that thing.
Yeah, it's the adage of if two people driving down the street, both doing over the speed limit, and you stop one gets stopped and the other one gets away, right?
He said, what about me? What about
the other person?
Right.
I get
But you was still speeding.
You were still speeding, right? So you deserve to take. All right, let's move on to the next one. Healthcare is number 4. NAACP Black Agenda. These are things that we should be focusing on. Healthcare agenda, and this is promoting health equity and addressing disparities in healthcare access and outcomes.
I agree.
You agree? Mm-hmm. Jay, I'm gonna let you start with this one. You agree with this one or disagree?
100%, because you think about our black women that go for healthcare with babies and stuff, the way they are not cared for. I mean, I seen it firsthand with my wife, and if I was not there to advocate for her, she may not be here, truthfully. But then conversely, you see, our white sisters, they don't have those same struggles. And then if we look at studies, Alvin has said plenty of times how they say that black people can take more pain. Our pain thresholds are higher than those of our white counterparts. And if you cut me, I'm still gonna cry. I'm still gonna be hurt. But they just say it's just different. So you even look at it when it comes down to the exposure to healthcare. We don't have it. So it's a lot easier and the outcome for someone that's white that has cancer to live a lot longer because they have those screenings, they have that insurance to get checked out. We don't. And then all the time when we do go in, we don't have that opportunity to come back out.
I agree with that. I also agree with the fact that the black community is still in some ways not as trusting of the healthcare system.
Mm-hmm. They shouldn't.
So if I'm not as trusting of the healthcare system, then I'm less likely to go. Right? Stay with me, Tom. Hold it just a second, right? So if I'm less likely to go, then that means that by the time I do go, it's too late. Mm-hmm. Right? So, yes, on the one hand, should we be, the Tuskegee experiment? Yeah, we know about all that, and that's caused a lot of people to think twice about our health care. But let me just ask you, if this says promoting health equity, let's start there. What do you imagine would be a scenario where you see African Americans getting the same opportunities as others for healthcare? What does that look like for you? What do you think that is, Tom?
Well, Jay hit on it when he talked about maternal deaths, because there have been plenty of studies that show that black women die at an alarming disproportionate rate of their counterparts while delivering or post delivery. And the babies die at an alarming rate during delivery. And so I was talking to a friend of mine who is really high up in one of the healthcare systems in this area. And he was sharing with me that they are now investing in midwives because you have
that's big now.
A lack of access because, unfortunately, black women don't trust these doctors when it comes to delivering their babies, and they don't trust whether they're going to be okay and their baby's going to be okay once they deliver. And so they're turning to midwives.
And doulas.
Yeah, they're turning to midwives at an alarming increasing rate.
Okay, so having said that, Jay,
So that gives you access.
It does. But if you're telling me that I'm not trusting of the doctors, even if there was equity, would I still go? Like, this to me goes back to the voting piece, right?
I think you would, because the equity speaks to
But
the piece
if I
of
don't
being trusted.
if I don't trust who's there, am I still likely to go?
You better.
You should, just like you should vote.
No.
But again, the point is, if the Voting Rights Act was passed, and you have that, does not guarantee that we're going to go.
Here's the problem with that. So what you're saying is, if I go to this doctor, there is a potential that my life may be at risk or my situation may be aggravated because they may not have my best interest at heart, or just I may not necessarily be a priority with their care. Versus if I stay at home and I have potential issues, I know the likelihood is I am going to get worse and potentially die. I know. That is no possibility. I know. So there is the potential, and I know. It's an easy choice.
Well, let me give you a real life example, okay? Because, as pastor of the church, we try to educate our congregation on more than just spiritual things, right? So September is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. We have conversations with our men. We've had times in the past where we brought doctors in and done health screenings on site to get checked. A lot of dudes don't show up.
Yeah, because they about to get...
And yes, you understand, right? The procedure. Hold on. October in the month that we're in is Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Yes.
Right? We know that black women are at a disproportionately higher rate for breast cancer. We bring in the mammogram bus.
They come.
Some do, some don't.
Wow.
So what I'm saying is that, in being on this side of it and trying to offer health-related things, it's more than just saying, okay, we're going to offer this stuff to you.
Could it be? Can I play radio?
Play radio.
Could it be that the numbers that you're getting from your congregation may be low or not what you think it should be? It's because the rest are going to their primary
Some
health.
are. Yes,
because
they-
I wouldn't need to come out
Correct.
because I go to my own.
Correct. But
I'm coming to know how to pay that copay.
But listen, to the point, right? We used to have a partnership with a local hospital. They would come out, bring the van out twice a month. Free services. Your child need a physical because they playing sport, they could get it on the bus. We had to stop it due to lack of support. So
When you say support, like people supporting it?
yeah. So what I'm saying is that yes, I do believe in health equity. I do believe that there should be, but I don't know if even if it were available, would people actually be taken advantage of because of the fear or the mistrust that is still evident in our community.
But some of our fears are so ignorant because while the Tuskegee experiment is legit, it's true. The people let's go with COVID. People use the reason why they didn't get the COVID vaccines because of the Tuskegee experiment. Most of those people don't even know where Tuskegee is and what the experiment was, but because they heard something, they ascribed to it and they held on to it. I will argue when it comes down to our health, it's our priorities because we'll do what we want to do and we go to places that we want to go.
Correct.
I.e., we'll stand in line for a lottery for a pair of J's. But if I know that me being 200 some odd pounds disproportionately exposes me to pre-diabetes, and that diabetic scan that you have here, and it's like 5 people, I don't want to go to that because I don't feel like getting out of bed, but I'll get out of bed to go get the J's. To me, I will also say it's our priorities.
Yes.
I get out of bed to get a lottery ticket.
Yes, and part of it is the fact that when I know my health now, I'm gonna have to make some lifestyle changes.
Yeah.
Right?
Can't get that fried chicken no
Because
more.
the reason why there may be more hypertension and high blood pressure, because you're right, I'm eating pig feet, I'm eating chitlins, I'm eating all that stuff, and I don't want to stop.
I do like my bacon. But I get it. I can't eat bacon every day. I can't eat bacon every week.
And I love French fries. Let me just say.
Yeah, it's all right.
When we stop this taping, I'm getting me some French
Listen.
fries. I'm telling you.
It's all right.
But
It's all right.
you at a certain point, you got to make choice. To your point, you got to make choices and own your health. And I just think, look, if you diabetic and you still got candy wrapped around the house, all little places you got hiding spaces for your candy, well, what you think gonna happen to your body, right? Yeah. So even in that, like, I think health equity is important, but there's some things we need to do on our end.
I truthfully, I would give health equity an 8 or a 9.
8 or 9.
Because it is a real issue. Jay, you said something that I actually saw in real time with the pain level. My wife had a procedure, and she had just had it, and they were supposed to be giving her another dosage of pain medication, and they were like, well, we're understaffed, and we're waiting on the doctor, and they were waiting, and she was like at a 10 for a minute, to the point where I went out to the nurse's station and I said, I need somebody, and I ain't said nice.
I know you did.
Okay, I lit the place up and I slammed my hand on the counter. Bam, stat. I need somebody in there right now. I said stat.
That man, listen.
Okay, that's my word. Stat. And look, guess what? About 3 nurses ran in there and they got her what she needed because she had an advocate who That's it. This Negro gonna lose his mind if we don't give him what he needs.
But see, why we gotta come out of character? Because my wife was having Langston, she was crashing, and the nurse said, "Oh, we losing her," and they were just chilling. I said, "Let me tell you something. If she don't walk out of here, ain't nobody walking out of here." They start laughing. I said, "No, I'm killing everybody in here."
So
why we gotta get violent?
Advocacy is important, and sometimes
the healthcare professional.
Look, man. Sometimes
Tom, we went in there together.
We coming out of here together.
Was at home,
Listen.
expecting her little brother and her mama and daddy. By any means necessary, all 4 of us going home.
Sometimes you gotta be John Q, man.
Oh, y'all not going home.
You gotta be John Q, man. You gotta do it. But I would say this. Maybe part of the other reason too is it goes back to economics, because maybe for a lot of people in our community, they're not insured.
Yeah.
But that wasn't our case. That wasn't his case. You got 2 educated
We're talking
people.
about generally speaking.
Okay, but still, you got 2 specific situations where it was insurance, the whole 9, educated people, and it
still didn't get the same care.
The skin of the color. It was the color of the skin. I'm telling you, that's what it was.
Yeah,
it was the color of the skin.
All right. So where do we rate healthcare? He said 8,
8 or 9.
How important, Jay?
If I didn't have kids, it would be like 4 or 5. But because I have kids and I want to be here for them, it's like a 10.
And I can even agree with a 10 too.
I could too.
Yeah.
All right. So where are we ranking the 4 that we've done? Voting rights, economic equity, criminal justice, and healthcare.
Economic.
All right. You said voting
rights,
or healthcare, because I think you said criminal justice was the lowest number I've heard you say so far.
7. Yeah. So it's between voting rights and healthcare.
For me, it's healthcare.
Yeah, I go there
if
too.
you ain't healthy, I don't care how much money you got.
I give you that too.
So healthcare, financial, voting
You
rights.
got healthcare number 1.
Yeah.
Oh no.
No, I ain't got number 1.
I ain't got that.
Because if you don't have no good healthcare,
But it's your list.
It's your list. It's
I
economic.
got economics number 1.
Economics number 1.
I do.
I give you healthcare.
I give healthcare 2.
I give you voting number 3, and I give you
criminal justice. I'm with you on that.
I give you that.
All right, we got 3 to go. Education is number 5.
that's high.
Ensuring accurate representation of African American history in school curriculums.
Yes.
And addressing the digital divide.
That one right there, the digital
divide. Talk to me about the digital divide. Help explain that to me.
COVID really exposed it.
Okay.
Especially in our demographic, because we're right here, almost the hood here, and you go 10 minutes down the road and you got some nice houses and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So when COVID hit, the kids at home, so they don't have access to, the teachers.
Internet.
So now you got to get internet. So what we found out, these kids don't have internet at the house. So we got to partner with the local cable company to give them the hotspots, so they can have access, so they can be to class on time.
CACAS actually does that.
Yeah. So you have that part of it. Then you also have the what's the word I'm looking for? The understanding how to utilize it. Yeah, they could play games and stuff and do all the other kind of stuff. They don't know how to work program like CAD and things that's ingenuity type things. So where they're thriving into the gaming world, but the stuff educational, they don't know nothing about it.
Hey, we're halfway through the show. Big shout out to everyone tuning in. Thank you all so much. If you're loving the content, consider supporting us by becoming a sponsor. Just contact us via email at thecrewradioshow757@gmail.com. Now stick around, we've got even more good stuff coming your way.
They don't know how to use certain tools.
Here's my question to you. How is it that, because with gaming, you had to learn that, correct? Mm-hmm. So how is it that they learned the gaming piece, but they didn't learn the CAD and the other academic stuff in which the hotspot was given to you for that purpose? And that comes back to the home. Because why are you giving priority to games that's not going to do anything for you unless you're going to learn when you grow up how to create games and coding and programming and all that. But you know that's not what they're doing. They're playing it. So how is it that the academic piece is lacking, and that's the reason you got it, but you're doing the game? It's like a person who can't read, but you know all the words to a song and a rap song.
That's a fact. And to that point, you know, I say this to our congregation all the time. You know, school is started. So it's football season. We all know on Saturdays, the local park for all the Pee Wee and the Little League football games is packed to the gill. You can't even get out there because everybody out there. I always joke, Tom, you ain't never got to worry about crime on Saturday morning because all the black people at the park. But the same folk will not show up to a PTA meeting, will not show up to know who the principal is at their child's school, will not show up to even meet their teacher. So what does that say about how we value education?
It's the home.
It's a priority, man. Like when I tell you it's bad, and even a couple of weeks ago we had a kid that was spazzing out in the classroom, you know, just tantrums, throwing chairs, and the father looked like me, told me and the principal that I want my child removed from the teacher's class, not because the kid's being targeted, not because the kid's being mistreated, not because the kid is anything that's negligent. He wanted the kid moved because the teacher's too hard.
Academically.
And held the kid accountable.
Yeah.
Those are the things as a school counselor that we have to combat. The mindset of these parents that they're entitled. You got a kid that's spazzing, that's fighting, and you restrain them, and the first thing the parents say, are you touching my child? I cannot allow, or the security can't allow this kid to be assaulting teachers. But then you want to get upset with me.
I got to push back.
Okay.
Here we go.
For radio, just for radio.
Just radio.
Didn't we just have a show a couple of shows back that you, Jay, and another person and someone over here co-signed? They say I won't even say y'all when they talk about this show. Yeah, and they said we need to compromise with today's children because they need to get something in order for us to even get them in the mindset of wanting to learn. And so they said we needed to compromise.
Well, I think you stuck on the word compromise.
Well, whatever, you said it. So
I didn't say it.
Well, you co-signed it.
Here's the approach to how you work with the kids.
He said it is on tape, y'all.
So don't do the playback.
I ain't gonna play playback.
Let me ask you a question.
But hold on. But he didn't answer my question. So how do we get here? Because you said we needed to compromise, or let's just use my word.
No. How we got here?
How we get here now to the point where he said he didn't understand that the parent wanted the kid removed because the kid is not, because the teacher's too hard. But you said that, and you said that's a bad thing, but you said that we should compromise. So the parent heard our show, and the parent said, why aren't you compromising? Like you told me you were going to compromise.
You twisted this up.
I'm just saying.
Context.
Help me.
Okay, now I can't speak for, we're talking about me. I can't speak for Meech, but what I
You're
was
off the
saying,
chain.
what I was saying,
Connecting
regarding
with kids.
compromise, yes, building that rapport.
You don't lower the
I'm-
standard.
Now, you can't cuss. You can't do like you can be angry. You can you can be frustrated, but you can't throw a chair. You can't cuss me out. You can't assault me. That's not compromise.
But they feel like they can. They feel like they can. And so if they feel like they can, why shouldn't they be able to do that? It's just for radio. I just wonder.
But meanwhile, you have states. I'm
curious.
shifting gears on this dude.
I'm curious. Okay, because guess what? If you take
Petty,
because if you I am Steph Petty all day long. Can I just tell you that? That's why Steph Curry is my dude. Night. That is my dude. Okay. So my question: you take his phone, you take his PSR or PS5.
PS5,
Yeah, PS5, whatever. it
At
is.
home or at school?
At school, because that's what happened to the big boy when he jumped on that lady. They took his PS5 and he left, and he got 5 years for that. By the
Yeah,
way,
he did.
And so, so for people who want to go off on your teacher because they took something from you, just understand you can be prosecuted too because he got prosecuted,
And you should be prosecuted.
and you should be prosecuted. So my question again, Jay, if you're saying we should come to their level and meet them where they are, perhaps that teacher did come to his level and lower the standard so that he could be able to consume the material without getting frustrated.
No, the
or
bigger
upset.
issue I see, let me answer this so we can move on. The bigger issue, Ty, is you as a, not attorney, Commonwealth attorney, but as a parent.
Yes.
The connection has been lost between you as the parent and the educator, right? And because of that, now it used to be, just like your mother, when you went to the school and Jay told your mom you was acting up,
She flipped the
she
script.
took his side
She did.
and she wore you out.
She flipped the script.
Nowadays, when he calls you and tells you your child acting up, you take your child's side.
Foolishness.
And that's the problem.
That's what I said. I said foolishness.
So now when we're talking about compromise, it's
Help
not
me.
compromising
What is it?
standards.
What is it?
It's finding a way to connect with these kids.
But what if he can't?
Then
Where's
you got to
your-
go by the standard.
Hold on, no, but where's the grace?
Oh, Lord. Here you go.
Number five.
No, but I want to ask this question on education because we got to move on. Meanwhile, other states, Ton, Jay, are systematically removing African American history from their curriculum.
They are.
It's
How do we feel about
say
that?
Slavery was it was good.
It was a good thing.
It was good. Like
Kanye said that.
Well, he said it was a choice.
He said it was a choice, which means it was good because some people chose
You
it.
had the slave masters eating dinner with the slaves, and they coexisted well.
They were
That's in the
friends.
books.
So now, if that's in the curriculum in certain states,
In Virginia,
where do we, again, as community, family, because education to me is not just what school systems and government's doing. We have failed to educate our kids on our own history.
yeah.
Because we're too busy allowing them to raise themselves.
Okay. And you're right. So that's the fifth one, education. How important is education,
It's
Ty?
huge, man.
Scale of 1 to 10.
It's a 10.
10.
It's a 10.
Jay.
12.
All right. So now where are you ranking education based on what we've covered? Voting rights, economic equity, criminal justice, health care, education.
That's rough. That's rough because you won't clear 1, 2, and 3. No one tie for two people. You won't clear 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Right?
I'll just say this. I'm not going to put anything above economic.
I'm not either.
So I'm just going to go ahead and start there. Because when you have economic advancement, economic empowerment, and so forth, you can eradicate everything else on that list. Money.
Well, the purpose of education for most people is to
get
advance your economic opportunities.
Correct.
All right. So I'm going economic 1. Healthcare for me is 2. Education is 3.
There we go.
Voting rights is 4.
We all right, Kevon.
Criminal justice.
We all right, Kevon.
So far, so good.
So far, so
All right,
good.
Jay, what's your list?
I struggle with your 1 and 2, but I can see, wisdom.
Because you're in education. That's why
Yeah.
you see the value of it.
So I would acquiesce.
No, your list.
Your list.
What's your list?
My list will probably be, I will switch some. I will be financial education,
one. Education 2.
health, voting rights, and then
Criminal justice.
Criminal justice.
Okay.
All right. Fair enough. Number 6.
Number 6.
Environmental justice. Now, this is one that we don't really talk a whole lot about in our communities.
Can I tell you why?
We don't know what it means. Like, I had to look that up. We don't know that. We're thinking about the environment.
No,
Summer, winter.
Let's just keep it real, y'all. Let's just keep it real. When you talk about the environment, black folks who are living paycheck to paycheck, who are trying to make it, who are trying to deal with the hardships and the turmoil that they deal with on their job, with their bosses, with their coworkers, their supervisors, who feel like they got to deal with harassment from the police, got to deal with the issues of the voting, got to deal with, can I trust this doctor when I come out of this procedure alive? Climate and environment.
Yeah.
That is not even on their radar.
But what if I were to tell you that it does impact your health care?
Oh, it does.
So let me give the example. So there's a old book called The Color of Law. If anybody here, you need to read
Great
the
book.
book. Color of Law. The book describes the history of America and how government intentionally put black people in certain communities, and then they would redline it.
Correct.
And when they redlined it, that would let everybody know, don't put no resources in that community, don't put no jobs in that community. But the trick is they also put these communities next to places that were not healthy, like factories. So our church, where we're located, is in the southeast community of Newport News. It's one of the highest rates in the city for asthma and respiratory illness. Why? Because the shipyard is not too far from here. And because of the cold that if you live in Hampton Roads, you drive on the 664, you see the cold. Wind blowing,
You smell it.
you see particles of coal that are in getting in lungs. And so there was even a study, Dr. Finn at CNU, great guy. He talked about how 664, the interstate, was built in this area because it went through our community. That's why the government decided to put it there. He also talked about in urban communities, in the hood, there's less trees. So it's hotter. Concrete. Well, you wonder why people shooting, because people mad, it's hot. And so these are things that we don't think about, but it impacts healthcare, it impacts criminal justice, it impacts economics. Because in a certain concentrated area, there's a lack of opportunity. So now you know a little bit more about it. How do you feel about it, Jay?
I mean, it's high. It'll be somewhere where voting rights. It may take 4 for me, but it even hearing all that, it still couldn't take.
I understand
the top 3.
But do you understand now maybe how climate change and how where government has put certain communities is not circumstantial, it's intentional.
Yeah, you think about food deserts. You got certain communities, you got food deserts. You look at different, this area, y'all don't have, in this part of Newport News, no drugstores.
We don't.
No Walgreens, no CVS, none of that.
You know why? Because these jokers go up in there and they think it's Christmas. And they be stealing like left and right. You've seen the videos they've gone viral that they go in there. You got to put deodorant on lock and key because people are stealing deodorant. They're stealing toothpaste. Now, my thing is, and they're not stealing one. They're stealing bulk so they can sell it. Because there's a statute that we were trying to get introduced that dealt with, matter of fact, I think it is in play, but where people will steal bulk items and then they go back and they resell it so they can get the profit like they're their own grocery store. And we know, we in the barbershop, right? What happens in the barbershop?
Yes, somebody come in with stuff.
They come in with stuff. Come on, they come in with stuff.
They got stuff.
All kind of stuff.
Might be a little warm.
Yeah, it might be a little warm, but they come in with all kind of stuff and they're selling everything because they went and they got it from somebody or themselves went into the stores. And so there used to be a nice grocery store on Nickerson years ago. I forgot which one they said it was, but I think it was a Kroger or something, but it was a nice grocery store on Nickerson. They had to close it down within, I think it was 6 months, because the shoplifting was so bad that they could not afford to stay open. The profitability was not there.
Yeah, I agree
and so
with that.
when you are talking about, well, they don't have this here and they don't have this there, we got to also be mindful, well, what part do we play in that?
Agreed. And most business, and that same thing happened here. The first grocery store in this community shut down within a year because of
The thefts.
the thefts, and the crime rate. And so another one is in now, and it's higher pricing. Most people who live down here don't go to that particular drug. They go to Walmart. But to the point, Jay, that you made about a food desert. Being in this area, even when I have to go get lunch, there's nothing in the Southeast community really that I can go to get something healthy. So what does that say about, again, health conditions, financial situations? That means somebody who don't have transportation, they got to catch a bus with groceries. These are things that we take for granted because we have cars, but that's all environmental.
We had to walk, when I was a kid, we had to walk through neighborhoods to get to a grocery store. And a lot of people in that neighborhood would take the shopping cart from the grocery store and drive the shopping cart back to the neighborhood. And so there was like this ditch that was adjacent to the neighborhood, and you look in the ditch and it was a lot of shopping carts from the grocery store because people didn't have cars. And so they had to literally just walk with the grocery cart.
And sadly, unfortunately, what happens is then cities look at that and say, well, we tried. Right? We tried to come into the community. Look at what happened. And that only perpetuates the thinking that they have anyway about bringing business into impoverished communities, which is a sad thing. All right, so how important is environmental justice to you?
It's going to still be last.
Okay.
Because the reason it's going to be last because of the topics that you name.
Right.
If you address economic opportunity, that's going to address that issue right there completely.
Right, because you can move?
No, because they're not going to put highways through Howe Farm.
Yeah.
They're not going to build Howe Farm next to a plant or next to a jail or next to something else. They're not going to do that. What they're going to do is they're going to leave that alone altogether.
But what does it say for somebody who has been born and raised, and Jay, you've been in this community for a long time. What does that say? That doesn't tell me that there's any hope of this present community because you always still got the shipyard with the coal right down the street. So there's always going to be a chance of respiratory challenges, no matter how much economics you have, if you stay in this community.
Yeah, well, here's my thing. If you might have to move, to be quite honest with you, and instead of having a residential area, make that more commercial or make it commercial. Something where a person doesn't have to live in that area, but they can do their shopping, their playing, or whatever, and then you may have to move to another area because no matter how much money you have, if it's not safe to live there, it's not safe to live there for nobody.
But most people, because of economics, which is our top one, cannot afford to move.
And that's why I said economics number one.
Yeah. Jay, how about you?
Yeah, it's probably like 5 or 6 for me.
Okay, so we've done 6 so far, and if you're just tuning in, we're talking about the NAACP. They came out with a Black Policy Agenda. These are items that we should be thinking about when it comes to who we elect or who we vote for. They should be thinking about these areas as it pertains in particular to the Black community. Voting rights, economic equity, criminal justice reform, health care, education. We've covered environmental justice. All right, so there are 6. Jay, I'm going to start with you this time. Give me your list, 1 through 6.
Financial.
Number 1.
Health.
Health.
Education.
Okay.
Voting.
Voting's 4.
Then you got the criminal justice, and then we got the environment.
That's my list.
I think you had health, you had education 3, healthcare 2, voting 4. Yeah, I'm with you on that. So if you just tune it's economics, healthcare, education, voting, criminal justice, environmental justice.
Yes.
All right. And then the last one, maybe the last one again too, for some, it is diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Affirmative action.
Commonly called DEI.
Affirmative action.
All right. And so for those who may not know DEI is protecting and advancing DEI in various sectors, including healthcare and education. Okay, so Tom, for those who may not be familiar with DEI and what its work is, tell us about it.
It's affirmative action. It's just a new name for it, which I don't have a problem with affirmative action, to be quite honest with you, because affirmative action is not saying you don't have the same ability or the same qualifications as any other applicant. What it says is, if all things being equal, because of historical discrimination and because of historical legacy that non-blacks, non-brown people have not been able to avail themselves of, we're going to give you an opportunity so that we can diversify, whether it's the school, diversify that particular organization, or diversify that government sector, whatever it may be. But our goal is to create diversity so that our workplace, our school, where we play, wherever it may be, represents how America looks.
Okay. Jay, you agree with that? Okay.
100%.
And then, so equity then is a little bit different. I think sometimes people mistake equity for equality.
Correct.
Equity does not mean everybody gets the same.
No.
Equity means that financially, just say you have a pot of money, to ensure that everybody's at the same place, it may require one group to get a little bit more than the other group to make sure that everybody's at the same space.
It's like special taxes on the rich.
Okay. Do you agree with, in this case, that African Americans need to have more equitable scenarios in the workforce? Or
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Now, somebody might be listening who might say, well, you know what? This is America. Black people got the same opportunities as anybody else to
That's
get
no
up,
true.
start a job.
No, we don't.
You know.
No, we don't.
Some people argue, man. Look, Asians come over, they pool their money together, they live together, they work, they start a job. How come black people can't do that?
Because people look at Asians differently than they do us. There are perceptions based on the race. The perception that a lot of non-black have about African Americans is that we're lazy. And the perception that non-Asians have about Asians is that they're super smart. And so they'll be given an opportunity much quicker than we will be given. The perception that you have about Mexicans is they work hard. You may not necessarily see them as super smart. You may not necessarily see them as something else, but they have a strong work ethic. Just like you hear people say, oh, the Mexicans out there at doing the lawn care, the Mexicans out there building that new hotel, because they have a perception of work hard. So when you talk about things being equal, or all things being equal when it comes to opportunities for African Americans, absolutely not, because we can't overcome the stereotypes that, unfortunately, we sometimes play into.
So, other side of radio. Why can't black people hustle like they see the Mexicans doing? Why can't black people get on these roofs and cut the grass and do all of that? If the thought is, or the perception is that people are lazy, if it's the job out there, how come you see more of one group taking advantage of that opportunity than the other?
Because there is a sector. Now, we are diverse within our own community.
Correct.
So, but there is a sector within our community who feels like you owe me this. And I am entitled to this.
Which is why they're not working.
And that's why they will not work.
Which is why you got another group of people who are working.
And that's why you got another group who say, I will do that job.
And Jay, I'm just going to say this nicely as I
Don't
can.
say it nicely. Say it the way it is.
There's some black-owned businesses that do shabby work, man.
Come on.
I thought I had to bleep that word out. I thought it would be something else.
some shabby work,
that
man.
pastor.
And listen, and you try your best to support,
Just can't.
but sometimes the quality of and listen, this is not a broad stroke bashing of all black-owned businesses.
Right. We're just calling it out.
It's about 40% of them, if not higher.
But sometimes the way we do business
Can't be on time. Can't fulfill the contract.
Inconsistent.
Like I paid for one thing, and I don't get that. And then I call you, you change your phone number.
Man.
But but on the flip side, let's flip that coin. You have black people who will go to black business because they're like, give me a break. Give me a cut in the cost. Come on, brother. Hook a brother up.
You
Come
wouldn't
on,
do
brother.
that for nobody else, though.
And you wouldn't do that to nobody else. You will pay full
And won't even
price.
ask the question.
Won't even ask the question. You will put whatever they ask you to pay, you will pay it, but will get an attitude if the cost is anywhere near what that cost is, or even a fraction of it. You will get an attitude if they will not even consider you trying to bargain for something less, because we feel like we should give each other a break, or we feel like we should give each other things that we will never require of other people.
Yeah. And so we know that even, now we're talking DEI now, right? So even Republicans have said that Vice President Kamala is a DEI hire for president. That's what they've said. Some of them have come out and said that. If we know...
Well, they've said worse than that.
They have. But if we know that the majority of higher paying jobs and opportunities, even admissions into certain schools, do not reflect our people, what can be done about it? Affirmative action has been gutted, right?
Yeah, it's been gutted.
So what is the solution then of giving us opportunities that's an equal playing field?
Well, for our generation, we've always been told you got to work as hard, twice as hard. You have to get twice as many certifications or get that piece of paper, which was the diploma, the degree. So we were always told that we have to outperform our competitors to even be considered in the same ballpark. So it's funny that you may say that, because there's a particular school, I forgot what school it was, that prior to the administration or the Supreme Court decision that said affirmative action was now illegal and they couldn't use that for school admissions, that Asian demographic for enrollment has dropped in this one particular, it's a prestigious school. I can't remember which school it was, but the Asian enrollment dropped significantly. I think I'm gonna look it up while we're talking. And African Americans went up and increased. And they did not use any DEI standards or affirmative action or anything like that. It's just somebody went back and said, okay, we got to out-hustle to get to that same spot. And then there were some schools who said, well, if you're not going to do DEI or do affirmative action, we're not doing legacy.
Right.
So they took away legacy. And for those who don't know what legacy is when your mama or your daddy went to that school, typically wealthy, white individual, you automatically got admission because your parents did. And they took that away. Mm-hmm. Harvard, Brown, I think Cornell, just all these Ivy Leagues, they said, we're not doing legacy anymore.
And one thing that I am seeing in higher education too is that some schools are not using like standardized testing as a prerequisite for admission.
Correct. That is correct.
So like
it went away.
SAT, ACT,
GRE.
Yeah, because we know that standardized testing in some ways
is discriminatory.
Is,
I didn't do well on the SAT or the LSAT. I didn't do well at all. But I graduated from both undergrad and law school with honors and stayed on the dean's list.
Right. And so that's a positive step, right? But we know, like, again, you don't see, especially us, black men, in Fortune 500 president positions or higher. So you could argue this is where DEI becomes important, because you don't see us. And we know that anytime there's an even playing field, that's why I think so many of us are attracted to athletics and entertainment, because when there's an even playing field and talent is the only discriminant, we gonna be successful, right? Yeah.
Well, that ain't true. That ain't true.
For sports, you look at sports. If it's an even playing field time, football, basketball.
I may not necessarily argue you on sports. Sports, it depends on the type of sports.
Agreed.
Because sports where there's judging, like figure skating and gymnastics.
Simone Biles.
She's the exception, and that's new.
But part of the reason why those sports are not representative of blacks is because they are highly financial.
They're all, but even when there was a French skater who was the bomb back in the late 1990s and early 2000s, I think the early 2000s. And she used to do backflips when she used to skate. And because it's a judging sport, her scores was still ranked under some of her white counterparts who their routine couldn't hold a candle to hers because the discriminatory nature
There is discriminatory.
of judging. So when there's judging involved is what I'm saying. When there's judging involved, it could be some discriminatory. But that wasn't my point. My point I was really trying to make is entertainment. Because when you look at someone, the richest female entertainer is God, I can't think of her name. She's dating Kelsey.
Taylor Swift.
$1.1 billion. That's her net worth. When you look at her talent versus the talent of a Beyonce,
The greatest of all time.
yeah, well, I ain't gonna say all that, but I'm just saying, because we're comparing right now where they are.
Right.
Beyonce is modern day, or even Rihanna and some of the others. Taylor Swift, I'm sorry. I mean, I've heard her sing. She can hold a note, but to me, there's nothing spectacular about her. But because she is the golden child, she is the what is that blonde hair?
See, my argument to that time is yes, if it's in that regard, because you have
She break color barriers.
She does. She's mainstream, but there's also we're only 13% of the population in the U.S., right? So compared to other ethnic groups, that's a very small percentage. Even for Beyonce to be in that area is because she's crossed over as well.
Right, but your statement was
All things being equal.
yeah, but
All things being equal.
all things being
This is not equal.
Yeah, but that's my point that I was making to you because you made a statement. Your statement was entertainment. That's why we love entertainment and we love sports because those are the two things where all things are equal. And I'm saying entertainment, all things are not equal.
Not necessarily.
That's my point I was making.
Got it.
I just took the long route, but that is the point I was making.
All right. So we're almost out of time, right, Jay? All right. So
we didn't hit everything yet.
we did.
Oh, okay.
We just finished.
So let's do the
How
list.
important is diversity, equity, inclusion for you? Scale of 1 to 10. Let me let you think.
Okay. Well, I mean, let me just go ahead and just say it. It's gonna be money.
Economics.
It's gonna be economics.
Okay.
It's gonna be health. It's gonna be education. What's left?
Voting.
Criminal justice, environmental justice, and DEI.
Okay. I might put DEI next.
Really?
And then I put DEI next. And the reason I put DEI next because to me, DEI is economics to me. That's all it is to me. Because if I got the same opportunities, I'm gonna get the same money.
Okay.
Because I was almost close to putting DEI next to economic. Because to me, I think DEI is really a subsection. I don't think it is its own thing. I really think it's a subsection of economic development. I mean, economic opportunities.
So I'll give you an example of DEI too that has nothing to do with money.
Okay.
AI. Now, AI, what people don't realize is not that AI is so good, but who's actually writing the code for AI, right? So if AI is only based on white people putting code in for white people, if I'm black and I'm asking AI to help me in my situation, the code does not support me.
And that's not economic.
No, that's DEI is what I'm saying. You need inclusion. You need all ethnic groups included in AI.
So let me ask you this. If I include you, that's not going to impact your bottom line.
Oh, it is.
Okay, so again, back to
It
it comes
is.
down to money.
But what I'm saying is DEI is bigger than just money is what I'm trying to get you to see.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it still comes back to the root,
Yeah, and I know this is number one for you.
which is money.
All right.
So that's why I put DEI. I wanted to say it's a subsection of economic opportunity. I really believe that's what it is. But if it has to have its own, I'm not going to put it above healthcare and education, but I'm going to definitely put it after education. And then I'll put voting rights and criminal justice reform and then
Environmental justice. So you got environmental justice last.
Yes.
All right.
Because that can be changed by economic development as well. I mean, economic opportunities.
Jay, what you got?
His list.
Whatever you say.
No, for real. That's his list is what I would say.
So I'm gonna make sure I heard. I got economic 1st. We agree to that. Healthcare is 2nd. I got education 3rd. Voting rights is 4. Because to me, voting rights will help with DEI. That's how I see that. Then from there it gets tricky, man. I don't know if we got enough time. For me, yes, but environmental justice would be last. DEI and criminal justice reform, man.
To me, DEI is nothing but money. At the end of the day, the bottom line to DEI, even though it has a huge umbrella, at the end of the day, the root, the bottom line, when it all comes down to it, is it's going to impact my pocket.
Got it.
Everything else is not going to impact my pocket like DEI is going to impact my pocket. Because you're saying I get diversity, you say I get equity. That means you're going to level the playing field. And then I get inclusion. That means I'm going to be in the boardroom. I'm going to be at the table. Yeah, no, I should be.
You should be. You should have a seat at the table.
I should have a seat at the table. Or like some other non-black people, when you don't get a seat at the table, I got the ability to go and create my own table.
Correct.
And when I fail, I can get 6 and 7 opportunities to file for bankruptcy like Donald Trump did and still be a billionaire.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. All right, listen. So again, this is in summary the NAACP Black Agenda for 2024. There's 7 categories. You can check it out for yourself. Voting rights, economic equity, criminal justice, healthcare, education, environmental justice, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. So for us, we need to have some sort of thought process behind who we're voting for. This is not just presidential election. This is all elections. Yep. We should at least have some consideration of that. List, and you share with us in our social media pages. Which ones is most important to you? You put your list. Let us know. We'll check it out. We'll respond to your list as well. We're out of time. Hope you enjoyed the show. We got to run. Until next time, be blessed and be a blessing to someone else. Peace.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Crew Radio Show. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. We're always looking for great sponsors to support the show. If your company would like to reach our highly engaged audience, please drop us a line at thecrewradioshow757@gmail.com. Until next time, thank you for kicking it with the crew.